The cactus wasn't even mine. It sat on the porch, forgotten, dull green, no flowers, just a round little thing with thorns like it didn't care who came close. I almost let it die, not on purpose, just like everything else I stopped tending to. The last time Emmy was here, she watered it, with both hands, carefully. "It's spiky but cute," she said, "like a grumpy marshmallow." That was months ago. No more tiny shoes by the door. No juice boxes in the fridge. No drawings taped to the wall. Just silence. Like love had been put on mute. Then one day, the cactus disappeared, and a week later, a photo arrived. No return address, no note, just Emmy, smiling, holding the pot like treasure, and on the back, in purple crayon, "Prickles still remembers." If someone has ever taken someone you love, but you still found a way to send love out anyway, then maybe this story is yours too. She stopped bringing Emmy over after that Saturday. I remember the day like it was folded into the corner of my mind. Quiet, but sharp. We were in the kitchen. Emmy was on the floor playing with buttons I kept in a glass jar. Stacy was watching the clock. I asked, half joking, "Running off already? You know you're always welcome for dinner." She didn't smile. She just said, "Actually, Joanne, we were going to talk to you today." My stomach tightened. That voice, that tone. She crouched next to Emmy, brushed her daughter's hair behind her ear, then looked up at me. "We've decided to limit visits for a while." I froze. "Limit?" She stood. "Emmy's been asking a lot of questions lately, about things we're not ready to explain." I didn't understand. Not yet. She went on. "She mentioned that you told her families don't leave each other, that even if someone moves far away, they're always connected, and that people who don't talk anymore still love each other." I nodded slowly. "Yes, I told her that, because it's true." Stacy crossed her arms. "Well, we don't raise Emmy with fairy tales. Not after what Brandon went through with your side of the family." It hit me then. She wasn't just drawing a boundary. She was building a wall. And I was on the outside. "I didn't mean to contradict you," I said softly. "I just..." She asked. I answered with love. Stacy didn't blink. "She's 5, Joanne. You can't just feed her emotional philosophy and expect no confusion." Brandon stood behind her, silent, like always. I looked at him. "Brandon, is this what you want?" He didn't meet my eyes. "She needs consistency, Ma. That's all." No shouting, no slamming doors, just a decision, already made. From that week on, the calls stopped. The little cards I mailed were returned. Birthday gifts came back unopened. I tried once, just once, to drive by their house. I didn't get out. I just parked on the opposite side of the street. After 5 minutes, Stacy came out, holding her phone like a shield. She didn't say a word, just stood there until I drove off. I got the message. Even Emmy's drawings stopped arriving. She used to make them with so much color. Her little notes, full of hearts and smiley faces. Now, the mailbox was just a box, and my hands had nothing left to hold. The hardest part wasn't being punished. It was not knowing the rule I broke. I stopped buying juice boxes. For a while, I kept them in the fridge. Emmy liked the grape ones. She always said the apple tasted like paper water. I used to laugh. Then one morning, I opened the fridge and saw the same 3 boxes, unopened, quiet. That's when it hit me. She wasn't coming back. Not next week, not next month. There were no more surprises in the mail. No crayon hearts, no tiny socks left behind the couch. I started folding less laundry. I cooked smaller meals. I stopped humming in the kitchen. No one was listening. At night, I would reach for the second pillow on the couch, the one Emmy liked to curl into while watching those nature shows. She called the flamingos fluffy dancers. I found a strand of her hair once, caught in the blanket seam. I held it like it was a message, like maybe it could speak if I stayed quiet long enough. But it didn't. I didn't cry the first month. I told myself it was just temporary. The second month, I started checking the mailbox before the mailman came. Like maybe he missed something. A note, a scribble, anything. By month 3, I stopped opening it altogether. I couldn't take the empty. Even at church, people asked where Emmy was. I lied. Busy with school, I'd say. It was easier than explaining how you can be erased without anyone yelling. Brandon didn't call. Birthdays came, holidays passed, no cards, no, "We're thinking of you," just silence. But pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just sits across from you at breakfast. Sometimes it walks past your window in the form of a neighbor's grandchild. I remember once seeing a little girl holding her grandma's hand at the grocery store. They were laughing over pancake syrup. I left my cart in the aisle and walked out. It wasn't jealousy. It was grief. Grief for a role I still held, but wasn't allowed to live. I didn't lose Emmy to death. I lost her to choice. And the cruelest part was not knowing whose choice it really was. I didn't know why I kept watering that plant every morning. It was a small cactus, no flowers, no scent. It asked for nothing. Stacy left it on the back porch the summer they moved in. I barely noticed it then. One day, it was forgotten, just like me. No one asked if it was still alive, but I saw it, standing, round, covered in thorns, as if it didn't care. Something in me decided not to let it die. Lena, the little girl next door, had been visiting more often lately. Her class was doing a project at the library, collecting odd plants for display. One afternoon, she pointed at the cactus. "That one's cool. Can I take it?" "They're short one pot for the corner window." I paused, then nodded. I wiped the dust off the pot, wrote a small note, taped it to the bottom. Every thorn remembers soft hands. I didn't sign it. I didn't expect anything. I just left something behind. A week passed, then 2. I asked Lena, "Is the cactus still there?" She shrugged. "Someone took it. I don't know who." I didn't know what I was hoping for, or fearing. Just a hollow feeling inside. I stopped looking at the garden for a few days. One morning, Lena ran over with a notebook in her hand. She said, "Miss Joanne, someone left a message at the library front desk. They asked, 'Who is Soft Hands?'" I stood still. She tilted her head. "Is that your secret name?" I smiled. "Maybe." I remembered showing Emmy how to wipe dust off plant leaves with a damp cloth. She once told me, "Cactus doesn't need cleaning." And I said, "Just because something doesn't need much water, doesn't mean it doesn't want to be seen." She giggled, touched the thorns with her tiny fingers, then patted my hand gently. "You have the softest hands, Grandma." People say, if someone wants to leave, let them go. But no one tells you what to do with what they leave behind. Stacy had cut off everything. The calls, the mail, even paper letters were returned. Brandon stayed quiet. I never knew if that meant agreement or helplessness. And Emmy, she was just a child. She didn't get to choose. I didn't have the right to ask for anything back, but I still had the right to send love out. So I began to leave little plants on my front steps, each one with a different message. Some things bloom when no one's watching. Roots remember where rain fell. Love doesn't ask to be seen. I didn't know who would read them. I didn't need to know. Maybe somewhere, someone would pick up a tiny pot and feel noticed. Then, on Emmy's birthday, a small envelope arrived. No return address. No letter. Nothing inside. Just a photo. It was Emmy. Hair tied in 2 little bunches, smiling. She stood by the library window, holding a cactus in her arms. It was the same pot, my handwriting still faint near the base. On the back of the photo, a single line was written in purple ink. Prickles still remembers. No name, no need. I held the picture with hands that weren't as soft anymore, but still warm enough to feel someone remembered. Even with thorns, even in silence. I didn't try to find Emmy again. I didn't tell anyone. I just sat for a long while with the photo in my lap. And I whispered, quiet as breath, maybe this is what to do with what they left behind. I didn't send angry letters. I didn't show up at their doorstep demanding answers. But I did something. It started with a plant, one Emmy and I picked out at a flea market. A little cactus, no bigger than a teacup. She liked it because it was spiky but cute. She named it Prickles. After they stopped coming, I almost let it die. But one morning, I watered it. Just a drop. Not for them. For me. I moved it from the windowsill to the old porch bench, where the sun hit soft in the morning. A few weeks later, I saw Lena, the girl from next door. She was walking her dog and paused to look at the cactus. "It's cute," she said. I nodded. "Would you like to name it?" She grinned. "He already has a name, doesn't he?" I blinked. She shrugged. "He looks like a Prickles." I smiled, almost startled. "Would you like to borrow him?" She tilted her head. "I mean, I volunteer at the library. There's a plant shelf in the children's corner. He might like some company." I let her take it, but before she left, I tied a note under the pot. Just a small scrap of paper. "Every thorn remembers soft hands." That was all. I didn't expect anything. I just wanted him to sit somewhere he might be seen. Months passed. Lena sometimes waved across the fence. She'd tell me the cactus was doing well, that kids liked touching him, even if they flinched a little. I liked that image. Something small, a little sharp, but still held. That was enough for me. Until one day, a letter came. No return address. Inside, a photo. Emmy, a little older, smiling, holding Prickles like he was made of gold. On the back, in crayon, "Prickles still remembers." Nothing else. No explanations, no signatures. But that was justice enough for me. Because some love finds another way, even when the door is closed. I didn't frame the photo. I kept it tucked between the pages of a cookbook, the one Emmy used to flip through, looking for silly foods like jelly toast and rainbow pasta. Sometimes I'd open it, not to cook, but to feel the slight lift of the page where the photo pressed. Just enough weight to know it was real. Lena still stopped by. She'd bring back books from the library, sometimes leave muffins her aunt baked. She never asked about the photo, but one day, she pointed to a folded quilt on the rocking chair. "Did you make that?" I nodded. Years ago, when I thought I'd be making a dozen more. She touched it gently. It's beautiful, even if it's just one. I didn't answer. Instead, I poured us tea. Lavender chamomile. Emmy used to call it sleepy flower water. We sat by the porch window. Outside, a little girl was chasing bubbles down the sidewalk. Not Emmy, not Lena, just a child. But I smiled anyway, because I wasn't waiting anymore. Not for calls, not for birthdays. I still kept a small bag by the door, with 2 juice boxes, a drawing pad, and 3 colored pencils, in case, but I didn't ache when it stayed untouched. I planted rosemary near the mailbox. Emmy once said it smelled like Christmas and grandma hugs. It grew tall. Sometimes butterflies landed on it. Sometimes nothing came. And still, that was enough. One morning, Lena gave me back the cactus. "He's ready to come home," she said. Prickles was taller, a little crooked, but alive. I placed him back on the porch bench. The sun was warm, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel erased. Not by absence, not by silence, because love had found another way through. Not loud, not grand, but enough to grow something small and real. Maybe this story isn't yours. Maybe your grandkids still call, still laugh, still leave juice boxes in your fridge. But if you've ever loved someone and had to find a new way to keep loving them, then maybe you understand. The mailbox is still there. The rosemary still grows. And sometimes, that's all the healing we get. But if it ever happened to you, or if you've ever waited in silence, you can write it down, or just leave it here, quietly. I'll be listening, always.